Is Still Seed worth spending your money on? A price tag short of $40, the dev team called Storm in a Teacup, who was picked up by ESD Digital, which is a publishing team helping indie devs get their games into a global audience's hands. But Storm in a Teacup is trying to stamp their footprint into the action stealth genre. Their pride and joy Still Seed is an action stealth adventure game that has you exploring a vast society that has been quite overran by machines. You are technically the last hope for humanity's survival. I do want to say thank you to the devs for gifting me a key to review this game, but I will say that this version of the game is what my review will focus on, covering some of the gameplay, visuals, and more, but the overall purpose of this review is to just see if Still Seed is actually worth buying. Therefore, let's hop right into the overall gameplay. So one thing to take note when you're actually looking at the gameplay overall is the agile movement and the platforming sections. So just to kind of touch bases on some of the stuff. So one thing when it comes to the overall movement, you would notice when you're playing with Zoe, who is our main character, she's very floaty, very lightweight. Now that is actually putting emphasis on the acrobatics that you'll be doing throughout the game. Like you're going to be jumping across platforms, you'll be wall running. There are now some cool like transitional environmental elements that you can come across as well. But one thing to note when you're looking at Zoe is that she's not clunky, she's not heavy, like she is quite built for overall agility. Now keep that in mind because that would actually spell for pretty much quite the rest of this entire review. It focuses a lot on agility basis. But speaking of agility, of course, we can't have agility without the action movie set pieces. Now, of course, this game reminds me a lot of the older PS3 games, even some of the PS2 where like there's just these action set pieces where things are happening. You got to kind of like run across a bridge while getting shot at, stuff like that. But these moments actually punctuate the exploration and combat, offering just quite, these thrilling, often scripted sequences that just emphasize Zoe's agility in dramatic situations. And she has quite a few of those set pieces. And it really did bring home to like how it used to feel back in the day for like these types of games. Now, of course, I spoke a little bit about the platforming, but this game gives you that classic platforming feel. So one thing when I was noticing when I was playing the game is that this game reminds me of like a PS2 classic like Sly Cooper, the way that you can maneuver around with him, Jack and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, like some of their platforming. But I feel like with some of the verticality aspects and overall the action set pieces reminds me of some a PS3 gem like Uncharted. And it's one of those things where I'm like, Uncharted is pretty great. Assassin's Creed is another one that kind of comes up when I was actually thinking about some of the overall platforming that I was noticing, so I can kind of get an idea where the devs actually got most of their inspiration from. But it's just quite a focus on just clear environmental cues, some of the satisfying jumps, and just a sense of flow as you navigate the terrain. And, the platforming, feels intuitive and rewarding sometimes. Speaking a little bit about the platforming, I want to kind of touch a little bit on the overall level design. So one thing what I noticed about platforming is that there is the verticality and is the horizontalness of it. And the smooth maneuvering that you experience clearly complements the level design. The game seems to just encourage a bit of exploration in all directions, really utilizing Zoe's agility to traverse complex environments, both like I said, vertically, which is climbing up different statures and leaping down from different areas, or even when you're running or swinging across poles, getting some of that horizontal feel, like you're almost traversing like this labyrinth of different areas, but you can traverse them in many different ways, really showing the scale of how big these places are. And just like really just kind of gives like, dude, we are in some form of subterranean city underneath and still just trying to overall figure out the overall environmental focus. Next thing to note is the combat. Now, the combat, I'm a little bit of mixed opinion on, which I'll get to my opinions a little bit later, but let's explain a little bit about the combat. So when it comes to overall attacking head on, the game offers a very flowy type of combat. It's a system that just allows for like decent transitions between attacking and dodging. There are times you can do a perfect dodge, which is just dodging right at the exact moment you're getting hit, and it can offer just an advantage of just opening up certain counterattacks or create openings. But one thing that I noticed when it comes to Still Seed is that this game really, really, really focuses on stealth. It is absolutely clear that stealth isn't just an option, but a significant pillar of the gameplay. Speaking of stealth, a good portion, like I said, relies on stealth. You can theoretically slide to cover, you can ping enemies to make them move to a location, and of course, that sweet, good old stealth takedowns. And the stealth really gives me the vibes of Assassin's Creed games. Like, you can cause distractions to get your takedown, you can do a falling takedown, and just the way you can traverse areas to just silently take everyone down. You could even use Kobe, who is your companion, and you can even mark enemies. You can see where how their positioning and movement is, like where's their routes, patrol routes, X, Y, and Z. But overall, like, just recovering, like, you got the cover mechanics, which practically almost any piece of like box or environment can be used as cover, and you can essentially conceal Zoe to be able to plan her next move. You can ping enemies, like I said, you can ping it utilizing Kobe, or you can actually utilize one of your abilities to actually ping an enemy to your location to actually cause down for a takedown. And of course, like I said, you got the Assassin's Creed vibes, and that's one thing that I noticed when it comes to this stuff. Like, we're really putting emphasis on the environmental awareness for stealth, utilizing that verticality for the falling takedowns and creating distractions to pick off enemies one by one. Seems to be quite a key element to play here. You can notice that stealth is definitely more prominent than the actual gung-ho method of just overall attacking some of the enemies. But I did bring up a mention of Kobe. Now, you guys probably like, who the hell is Kobe? Who is this dude? Like, not Kobe Bryant, but Kobe is our R2-D2 of this game. So this is a dark sci-fi world, but he reminds me of R2-D2. Just a beep boop beep boop, and your character can randomly understand the ones and O's of this robot. But one thing about Kobe is that Kobe's primary function in combat appears to be very support oriented, specifically building up stun meters. Now, when it comes to the combat, when you're actually attacking enemies gung-ho, they do get a stun meter. Now, in my opinion, the stun meter can be a little bit better, because when you do stun the enemy, they kind of just sit there like there are days, but there's no execution, which I may be spoiled from a lot of games I've been playing, but that execution really does take home, and like, it really helps with trying to do. But no, you could just keep beating up on the robots, and there you go, there you have it. But the stun meter does add a bit of layer of tactical depth to your encounters, knowing when and how to utilize Kobe's abilities. But Kobe also does have another purpose, which is helping you maneuver the different areas that Zoe cannot reach, and just requires some tech know-how to really pass through, which helps Kobe have two particular ways of actually utilizing his his techniques, which is just helping you fight and helping you get through certain specific areas. Now, speaking about exploration and just overall progression, one thing to keep note is that this game offers 4 quite different things to help overall progress you through this game. So you'll notice that there are mech pods surrounded it. Now, one thing that immediately popped in my head reminded me of like bonfires from some of the Souls-based games, but the mech pods act pretty much as your crucial checkpoints, providing standard that Souls-like functionality. In this case, you can actually save your progress, which is actually what it seems like the only way to actually save your progress. I haven't seen any auto saving. Healing, you can heal Zoe back to full health, and as well as you can fast travel. Now, fast traveling signifies just that there is a distinct, and there are large locations. So when you hop into all of these areas, they are fucking massive. They are incredibly large. So fast traveling, you can't actually walk to and from some of these areas. The only way to get to the next area, you will need to fast travel to the area. Some cases you can physically, just with the game, kind of scripts you towards that route, but there's no open world. It's a very linear with a slightly expansive exploration per area, allowing you to actually revisit some of these areas as you can just fully explore them to their full completion, because there is a completion bar when you are looking at these areas. You can see what some of the collectibles that you have missed, some of the things you have missed, and you could try to find every type of nook and cranny of different items and stuff that you can find, try to fill up that completion bar. Another thing to take note is the skill tree. Now, the skill tree to improve Zoe and Kobe's effectiveness in the field. You get 3 different skill trees, which you will focus on combat, which if you put points into this, you can improve Zoe's fighting capabilities. You can also use your utility, which helps Zoe's overall being and herself. And then you also have the stealth skill tree, which basically in itself improves her stealthily capabilities. Now, there are other ways to unlock stuff in a game just by completing specific challenges that the game sets out. Now, one thing to note about those challenges is that this is an alternative progression path beyond just the standard skill tree that is given to you through progressing the story. By doing specific things in game allows you to actually get another thing to put into your skill tree. So you'll take notice that, like, oh, hey, if you take down 10 enemies without being seen, here's an ability. Oh, if you can ping yourself and, call the enemy over and you do a stealth tech down, here's an ability. So by doing specific different challenges, you can unlock a couple extra things, like even some different battle suits that comes with Zoe, or even just different skill sets. But overall, in essence, Still Seeds seems to be crafting a compelling experience by blending fluidity of Zoe and herself, but also using strategic depth of stealth mechanics, while wrapped in a world that just encourages just agile exploration and offers quite a meaningful progression choice. The synergy between Zoe's acrobatic abilities and Kobe's support with the level design appears to be the overall core strength of the gameplay in Still Seed. But another thing that I feel like the game kind of lacks on, which brings me to my next point here, is the overall story's premise. Now, the story premise centers around Zoe, a cybernetic protagonist just navigating a hostile, technologically advanced underground world known as a vast subterranean city. Now, this thing is absolutely crazy massive because clearly Zoe has no idea what's going on. She does not remember anything. And at this point, humanity just seems like it's struggling for survival within this artificial environment. And from one thing that I noticed in game, that Zoe seems to be just the last human, and we have to find her father to uncover the way to save humanity. But of course, like I spoke about in the gameplay section of this video, she is not alone. She does have a flying drone by the name of Kobe. Now, Kobe was actually made to actually help guide Zoe along her path, but he does play quite an integral role in the gameplay, likely in the narrative as well, offering just an assistance and as well as that guidance, like I said. The core conflict, though, appears to stem from the dangers that is lurking within this massive city. The environment itself seems to be a threat. Zoe and Kobe will face all these different types of machines by themselves. These aren't just simple obstacles, but they seem as just formidable adversaries that Zoe must overcome, utilizing her stealth, her skills, and as well as her agility to get in and out of situations. The overarching narrative seems to be driven by the need for survival in this harsh artificial world. There's definitely some form of a mystery of the origin story of this. Like I said, Zoe doesn't even remember her past. She truly don't understand her purpose in this world. And all she just knows is, I need to find my father because clearly he knows what the hell is going on. Now, one thing that I noticed that as the plot is continuing, it misses me in some areas. It kind of just... I feel like the plot falls flat just a little bit. I'm a sucker for story, and I feel like this premise is like, it's a good idea, but I feel like it's just executed just wrong when it comes to actually playing the game. And I feel like that is like one thing that kind of makes this a little bit hard, but we'll get to there. We'll get to there. Stick around. I'll talk about my entire points and thoughts about this game. Next, of course, we can't have anything without we cannot have gameplay in a story without complementing the things that enhance those things, which is the visuals and audio. So one thing to take note is that when you're looking at the gameplay, you look at the trailer, the first thing to notice that this, yes, is built off of Unreal Engine 5. So Still Seed is it shows quite a high fidelity of visuals. You can see some of the lighting techniques. There's all the environments are superly detailed, and it really screams Unreal Engine 5. Then this significantly contributes to the overall visual quality that you will know. And also another thing is that this is a dark sci-fi cyberpunk-esque world. And that's one thing they just really take away when you're looking at this game, is that the dynamic elements that you will notice is that there's the moving train cars, really bringing the world to life and creating a sense of persistent evolving environment. And just looking at even the hub area, when you meet the yellow when you get to the hub area, you understand that you're on this trek to find your father, and just the library just looks absolutely crazy and massive, and all of the different environments and the set pieces, man, they're crazy in my opinion. This really helps the creative and ambitious to the level design, and they have these dynamic elements that can make exploration just really visually stunning. I would definitely, that's one thing when I note about this game, is just visually stunning. Now the problem about that is that on the other side of that coin, it's Unreal Engine 5. Practically when you look at most games built on Unreal Engine 5, they all kind of look the same. In a way, it kind of does. Every time a game gets Unreal Engine 5, it kind of you can tell. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, chat. If y'all know what I'm talking about, just let me know in the comments, if y'all understand what that means. But another thing I can also give props to is clean and responsive user interface. I have OCD fucking crazy, and I will praise anybody who can give me a clean user interface and letting it be responsive, right? That is just crucial for just a smoother player experience. Now, me personally, I haven't experienced anything laggy or anything regarding around the user interface, and my playthrough seemed pretty fine. I will say a clutter-free heads-up display ensures just that important information is just readily available without obstructing the immersive visuals, while the responsive menus really contribute to a feeling of just polish and control. And to help take that even further, there's the audio. There is a solid foundation for sound effects. Now, it's not the flashiest thing on the planet. It's not the most groundbreaking thing ever. I've heard greater things from other games, but the sound effects definitely help give more impact to the combat, and just overall the believability of the environment. You can hear the rumbles of the trains in the background, and when you're in when you're in the lower parts of the little underground city-ish, you can really hear the hums of the technology going around. You can see little worker bots working, and it just overall brings you into this atmosphere. But where the audio starts to dip just a little bit is overall the voice acting. Now, in my opinion, I give it a okay rating. There are some strong areas, but there is also some weak areas. And it really is just that the performances just might be compelling and can help contribute to the narrative, but it does fall short on certain things. And this can be an issue for most games, especially some these more indie games. Not every game needs to have this high-class, star-studded award-winning performances like Expedition 33 with their cast, but it's just a little bit better. Zoe's character sounds great, but she just kind of feels a little bit just random moments where it kind of just falls flat. And that's just small critique. She does a great job, but it just falls flat in some areas. Another thing, as I was talking about, was the overall sound design, is that the game's music gives off this ominous and futuristic score. Now, it has this melodic tones that is very sci-fi, and it perfectly sets the atmosphere for a cyberpunk-based world. Music plays quite a vital role in establishing a mood and enhancing the overall sense of immersion. and just that ominous futuristic score can really heighten the tension during some of the stealth sequences that you will see, and it can also help with the combat encounters, and it really helps the theme of the game's narrative. Overall, for this, is that SteelSeries appears to be just visually impressive game, just leveraging some of the capabilities from Unreal Engine 5 to really create this dynamic and detailed dark sci-fi cyberpunk-esque world with a good environmental design and a clean user interface. The audio, though, is pretty solid and it fits the atmosphere, but potentially, like I said, it's very inconsistent in the voice acting. The combination of these mainly can help for the overall immersion and feel of the game. So now we got to the part where I need to kind of speak my piece on this game. Let's talk about the performance issues. So after giving you a decent understanding of SteelSeries, which is a game around at $40, I do have some complaints regarding this game. So let's touch back a little bit on the combat. The combat in itself offers stealth approach, or you can go in guns blazing. But that right there is my main complaint. The guns blazing part is really lackluster in itself because you can really tell this game is more tailored to stealth. There was too many times where I got caught or chose to fight and the lock-on system is weak and the enemies feel way too goddamn tough than they should be. And shit, your attacks really don't do much damage even in the very beginning of the game. The game feels like it's forcing me to basically be more stealth than action-oriented. Granted, yes, the obvious point that is there that this is an action stealth game, but if you are going to give me moments where I can full-on battle these robots, it should just be a little bit better. Just a little bit. And even when you're progressing through the skill tree, because just maybe the game does note that she doesn't remember much, she's still learning. So even when you are going through the skill tree in itself, it really does not help your combat, but it really only helps you improve stealth. It really gets active when the whole zone is on your ass and you're fighting multiple enemies, which they have clapped me more times than I can count, which just forces me back into doing stealth. So it comes back to my main point. It's like, why give us the options of having either or when you're going to punish us for going one route? But that's a main complaint. But I would say here are some improvements though. Combat could probably use maybe a good block or even a good parry system to help when it comes to fighting off the multiple enemies. And it could also help fix the clunkiness of locking on enemies. I feel like the locking on system is like not that great and it could be a little bit better. But another point to make to the fact is that this game isn't truly a Souls-like, but it is an action-adventure stealth game. But dying fucking sucks because sometimes if you die, you have to restart almost 20 minutes of your goddamn time trying to redo everything because the checkpoints in these goddamn areas are few and far between. There is also a very limited variety of enemy types, which can make all of your encounters, all of your stealth sections repetitive. And I feel like that's the main thing that I'm noticing across the board is that it's just predictable, repetitive, and it kind of gets that way, and sometimes it can feel stale in certain areas. Even the narrative can be a bit underwhelming as well. I feel like some things are mistimed, some things could be a bit bland in some areas, and some areas is a bit unengaging. And another thing, even though I did praise some of the visuals, like I said, this is still an Unreal Engine 5 game. It feels very samey to a lot of other ones, but it's just sometimes certain areas, there's some great areas in this game, but there are some areas that feel a bit dreary, feel a bit uninspired, and sometimes just visually repetitive. But overall, the promising aspects like its stealth mechanics, the platforming, the visual design in certain areas, it seems pretty decent. I can give it like it's okay. It can be better, but it's not shit. That's one thing to note. It could be better, but it's not dog shit. It's like that in between, like it can be improved in certain areas. And one thing as I saw was just like a lot of other people kind of have a very similar vibe. And it can basically just be used. And some of like my issues that I had, please fix the combat system, fix the checkpointing timing or whatever the case. And this one, since the game is already out, we really can't fix the narrative experience, but we can try to do something. These issues seem to really just detract from the game's potential. And just one thing that I noticed while even just talking to you guys today is that some of the mixed reviews are kind of having this similar issue. But my final thoughts on Still Seed is that the game is priced at $40. I hate to say it, I really do. I really hate to say it, but with my time in this review, this game does not meet the $40 price tag that is being offered at. I would recommend waiting on a sale before playing this game. I can see the vision and I can see the potential of this game, but with the repetition of enemies, no crazy varieties, the game is very generic in some areas. I will still say I have enjoyed the way the game looks, but even in the visual category, it can be repetitive in most areas. Combat does need a fix or a complete overhaul, because stealthing can only get stale or drawn out from time to time. This game will sadly get left in the dust by the other games like Expedition 33, which is around similar pricing, or even the crazy shadow drop from Bethesda, Oblivion's remaster. And then later this week, we have Doom: The Dark Ages. So with an indie game and two major game releases that one has already come out and one is on the way, Still see at a $40 price tag would definitely get kind of swept right under the rug beneath the star power that has now dropped as of now. But I want to know, what are your guys' final thoughts or your initial impressions on Still Seed? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like today's episode, then I definitely recommend subbing to the channel, joining the Owlcast community, and as well as like the episode. But if you want to support the channel, then I got the channel memberships in down below. Stay safe out there. And it's been your host, Chaos DTV, signing out. Peace.